All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Everyone today is talking about this desperate need to become AI ready, right? You see it in headlines, you hear it in board meetings, and honestly, a lot of it is just driven by pure FOMO, fear of missing out. Companies are rushing to adopt artificial intelligence simply because their competitors are doing it, or their investors won't stop asking about it. But if we cut through all the noise and the hype, what does readiness actually look like in practice? Because I'll tell you right now, it is not just buying a software license or flipping a switch. It requires a fundamental restructuring of how your business operates. So let's break this down and build a real, practical blueprint for genuine AI readiness.
You know, whenever I talk to business leaders, the conversation usually kicks off with a flurry of really tactical, urgent questions. They want to know, hey, should we buy Microsoft Copilot for the whole company today? Should we hire developers to build a proprietary chatbot? How fast can we automate our customer support and save on headcount? And look, those are valid questions. You'll definitely need to answer them eventually. But rather than starting at the finish line by asking which tool to buy, there's a much more fundamental question you have to ask yourself first. It's the ultimate prerequisite. Is our organization actually ready for AI?
To really wrap our heads around why this is so critical, picture this. You're building a massive, state-of-the-art manufacturing plant from the ground up. You're dropping tens of millions of dollars. You've got the perfect plot of land, a visionary architect, and you just bought the absolute most advanced, expensive machinery on the global market. Now imagine, halfway through the build, somebody says, you know what? Let's just skip pouring the concrete foundation. Takes way too long and we already have the machine sitting right here. You'd literally laugh them out of the room. You wouldn't just throw finely tuned machinery onto a dirt floor. They'd sink, they'd misalign, and eventually they would completely break down. Well, AI readiness works the exact same way. The true strength of an AI factory isn't decided by fancy algorithms, it's decided by the structural integrity of the organization supporting it. And we have to build that structure using 5 key pillars.
Let's start with our first structural support. Pillar 1, strategy. This is all about putting the business first. It's really fascinating to see the contrast between two very different mindsets here. On the technology-first side, you have leadership teams treating AI basically like a shiny new toy. If you ask a room full of executives why they're launching a massive AI initiative, and one says general productivity, another says cost reduction, and a third says, well, our competitor just did it, that is a huge red flag. AI should never begin with technology just for the sake of having technology. Now contrast that with the business-first mindset. Over here, they are laser-focused on concrete problems. They're deploying AI specifically to solve a 30% spike in complaints about shipping delays, or maybe they're slashing a bloated 3-day credit assessment process down to just 2 hours. If your specific business destination isn't crystal clear from day one, even the most advanced tech in the world won't know where to take you.
Moving right along to Pillar 2, data readiness. This is our raw material, trustworthy information.
Okay, we need to clear up a massive corporate misconception right now. A lot of boardrooms expect AI to act like this digital magic wand that's going to dive into their servers and magically clean up 10 years of messy, unorganized data overnight. But the harsh reality? AI simply inherits and amplifies your existing spreadsheet confusion. Think back to our manufacturing plant analogy. If you load the wrong raw materials into a $1 million CNC machine, the final product is going to fail. And you wouldn't blame the machine for that, right? It only processes what it's fed. Similarly, if your sales team uses one forecasting spreadsheet, production uses a completely different database, and finance has completely different revenue numbers, an AI model doesn't magically know who's right, it just takes that profound confusion and scales it up to lightning speed. Your data doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be centralized and consistent enough that your people actually trust it.
Which brings us to Pillar 3, people, the all-important human element. This is a fundamental truth that is missed way too often in these big tech rollouts. Successful AI adoption is not just an IT project, it's a massive change management project. Why? Because businesses don't adopt technology, people do. Human beings have to literally change their daily habits, adjust their workflows, and actively choose to trust a new system. Think about when a company rolls out a complex new ERP system but skips the training. Within a week, what happens? Employees find workarounds, they build shadow spreadsheets, and they just go right back to their old habits. AI is no different. If your team is scared this tool will replace them, or if they don't even know how to write a basic prompt, that multi-million-dollar investment just becomes another unused app sitting on their desktop. You need empathetic leadership to clearly explain why the change is happening and how it actually benefits the individual worker.
Next up, Pillar 4, technology. And notice, this is explicitly not where we started.
It might actually surprise you that we are only just now getting to the technology pillar. But this proves a vital, non-negotiable point about building your AI factory. Yes, setting up secure APIs, integrating with your CRM, and locking down data security are all incredibly important tasks. But the tech itself is never your starting point. If you start with a tech, you just end up with a hammer wandering around looking for a nail. Technology shouldn't be some isolated app that forces people out of their normal workflow. It has to become a seamless, almost invisible part of how your people already do their jobs. And it can only do that if it's resting firmly on the strategy, data, and people pillars we just built.
And our final structural support, Pillar 5, governance, because consistency creates trust.
Think about the critical day-to-day governance questions that keep an organization running safely. Who actually holds the authority to approve a new AI system? If an employee uses a public language model, who's making sure they aren't accidentally pasting proprietary client data onto the open internet? Who is ultimately on the hook for reviewing automated outputs before a real customer acts on them? And what happens when local data privacy laws inevitably change next year? Look, these aren't just annoying bureaucratic hurdles designed by legal to kill your momentum. In a real factory, you have maintenance schedules, emergency shutoff valves, and safety gears specifically to prevent a catastrophic shutdown. Governance in the AI space does the exact same thing. Consistency creates baseline trust. And when your organization has that trust, innovation becomes repeatable and, more importantly, safe.
Section 6. Putting it all together. Let's look at how to avoid a really common trap.
It is so easy for ambitious companies to fall into this trap. They spend months stuck in a cycle of comparing different software vendors, debating the nuances of AI models, negotiating pricing, and getting totally mesmerized by flashy demo videos, all long before they ever secure their organizational foundation. Spending all your budget and executive energy arguing over which AI tool to buy while completely ignoring your internal data quality is exactly like endlessly debating whether to buy a Toyota or a Tata truck for your logistics business, long before you've even checked if you have a paved road to your warehouse. The specific vehicle totally matters, sure. It dictates your payload and speed, but checking if you actually have a structurally sound road to drive it on, that absolutely has to come first.
Section 7. The AI Readiness Checklist. It's time to actually assess your initiatives.
So how do we make all this actionable? Over the next week, I challenge you to take just one AI initiative you're currently considering, or maybe even one that quietly failed in the past, and run it straight through this 5-point diagnostic. 1. Strategy. What exact, highly specific business problem are we solving? 2. Data. Can we genuinely trust our information, or is it fragmented across a dozen different spreadsheets? 3. People. Are the end users actually trained and willing to embrace this? 4. Technology. Can our legacy systems actually integrate and support the new tool? And 5. Governance. Who specifically owns the risks when things go wrong? Taking the time to answer these 5 questions confidently puts you leagues ahead of the vast majority of the competition.
When AI initiatives struggle or fail to deliver on those massive promises, it usually reveals something pretty deep about the business itself. The core problem is almost never that the chosen AI wasn't smart enough or fast enough. It's almost always that the organization itself was structurally unprepared to harness it. Because true AI readiness, it isn't about buying better, more expensive artificial intelligence. It's entirely about building a better, stronger, more cohesive organization from the foundation up. Which leaves us with one final critical question to ask yourself as you look at your company's future. If artificial intelligence ultimately acts as a massive amplifier of your current internal business processes, are you truly ready for what it's about to amplify?